Welcome everyone to today's deep dive into one of the most fascinating, intriguing, and almost unbelievable stories from the world of rare coins and numismatics, because today we are going to explore in full detail the 1987 1-cent coin, a humble Lincoln cent that most people would not give a second glance to in their pocket change, yet due to a combination of rare errors, minting mistakes, unusual variations, and collector demand, has been valued in stories and auctions at a staggering $46 million, making it one of the most shocking examples of how something so small and ordinary can become worth a fortune. And throughout this extended discussion we are going to look not only at why this coin in particular has gained such fame and value, but also at the kinds of minting errors and circumstances that can make coins of any era worth far more than their face value. So buckle up as we embark on a journey through history, craftsmanship, mistakes, and the amazing possibilities that lie hidden in coins that most people dismiss as being worth just a cent. But before we dig into the technicalities, let's set the stage by considering the context of the 1987 penny itself, a coin that continued the long tradition of the Lincoln cent design, which had been first introduced in 1909 to honor the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth. And by the 1980s the Lincoln cent had been a staple of American currency for decades, with the obverse showing the portrait of Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner and the reverse in 1987 still bearing the Lincoln memorial design that had been in place since 1959, which itself contained subtle details such as the tiny representation of the statue of Lincoln visible inside the memorial when viewed closely. But in spite of being mass-produced with millions upon millions minted, a small handful of these coins have emerged with errors that catapult their value into the millions, and the 1987 cent that we are discussing today with its rumored valuation of $46 million stands as a legendary example because it combines an array of fascinating possibilities, from double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, planchet errors, wrong metal compositions, misaligned dies, and even transitional anomalies that may have slipped past the mint's strict quality control. And collectors know that when such a rare combination of mistakes converges in one coin, the result can be astronomical in value, since rarity and uniqueness drive collector demand in a way that cannot be replicated by ordinary coins. Now let's talk about the kinds of errors that could contribute to such an enormous valuation, beginning with the classic double die obverse, where the design elements appear doubled because the die itself was improperly hubbed during the manufacturing process. And on a 1987 cent this could mean that Lincoln's profile shows doubling in the eyes, the nose, or the mouth, or the date and lettering such as, "In God We Trust, Liberty," or the year, 1987, itself appears doubled and dramatic enough to catch the eye, and dramatic double dies are among the most famous errors that can instantly multiply a coin's value. Then we can also consider the possibility of off-center strikes, where the coin is not struck properly between the dies and the design is shifted dramatically to one side, leaving a blank crescent of unstruck metal on the other side. And the more dramatic the off-center strike while still showing a full date, the more valuable the coin becomes. So imagine a 1987 cent struck 60 to 80% off-center yet still displaying the date fully, a rarity that collectors would pay heavily for, adding to the mystique of this multi-million-dollar valuation. But that is not the only error to consider, because broad strikes, where the collar that normally holds the coin in place during striking fails and the metal expands outward, creating a coin that looks wider and distorted while still showing all design elements, can also make a coin unique and highly desirable, especially if it occurs on a cent from a year that otherwise did not see many notable errors. Then there are planchet errors, which can range from clips where part of the coin is missing due to a faulty blank punch, to wrong planchet strikes where a cent design is accidentally struck on a foreign coin blank or a blank intended for a different denomination such as a dime or a nickel. And such wrong planchet errors are among the most valuable because they are immediately eye-catching and obviously unusual. And if a 1987 cent exists struck on a copper nickel dime planchet or on a bronze blank left over from pre-1982 production, that rarity alone could drive value sky high. Now another fascinating possibility for the 1987 cent is the transition of metal composition. Because starting in 1982 the US Mint had switched from solid bronze cents to copper-plated zinc cents due to the rising cost of copper, but transitional errors do happen, and a 1987 cent mistakenly struck on a solid bronze planchet rather than the expected copper-plated zinc could be an incredible rarity, especially if it were one of only a handful known, because such composition errors are confirmed by weighing the coin and seeing a heavier weight than normal, and these have always been prized in the coin market. Now consider the role of misaligned die errors, where the obverse and reverse dies do not line up perfectly and the designs are shifted relative to each other, creating odd overlaps that make the coin stand out immediately. and in some cases, partial collar strikes where the coin is only partially held in place result in a railroad rim appearance that is beloved by collectors, and when you combine any of these errors with the right amount of rarity, you end up with a coin that can reach astronomical value. But beyond the technical errors, there is also the role of legend and storytelling, because the numismatic world thrives not only on the physical rarity of a coin but also on the mythology that develops around it, and the 1987 1-cent rumored to have fetched or been valued at $46 million fits right into this tradition, since stories about one-of-a-kind coins naturally spark the imagination of collectors who dream of finding one in their pocket change, and while millions of 1987 cents were minted, the possibility that one or two slip through with unique features makes the hunt for them exciting. Furthermore, auction results play a huge role in setting these valuations, because once a wealthy collector decides that they must own a particular coin, bidding wars can escalate far beyond rational estimates of value, leading to headlines about cents worth millions, and these headlines in turn fuel more interest in error coins, creating a feedback loop that elevates their legendary status. But we must also consider how the human element at the mint contributes to these mistakes, since coin production in the 1980s involved high-speed presses, planchet feeders, and die preparation processes that, while precise, were not immune to error, and a single momentary lapse or machine malfunction could produce a handful of error coins before being corrected, and if those few coins made it into circulation, they become treasures waiting to be discovered, and because 1987 was not generally known for high-profile errors, any major mistake from that year stands out even more, adding to its aura. So when we look at the claim that a 1987 cent has reached $46 million, we see that it is not just about the metal or the design, but about a perfect storm of factors, including rarity, uniqueness, condition, demand, mythology, and the thrill of owning something no one else has, because collectors will pay almost anything to secure a coin that is truly one of a kind. Now imagine the possibilities if that particular 1987 cent combines several errors at once, such as being struck off-center on a bronze planchet with double die features, because multiple errors on a single coin compound its rarity exponentially, making it not just rare but possibly unique in the entire world, and uniqueness is the ultimate driver of multi-million-dollar prices, and in this way we can understand how a coin that most people dismiss as ordinary could be valued at an unbelievable sum. But the story does not end there, because the excitement around coins like this also fuels education and awareness among casual collectors, encouraging people to examine their pocket change, to look closely at dates, mint marks, and details that might reveal hidden treasures, and this democratizes the hobby by giving everyone the sense that they might stumble upon a $1 million coin in their everyday life, and that dream keeps the hobby alive and thriving, with countless stories of ordinary people discovering rare error coins in circulation. So the 1987 cent worth $46 million is not just about one coin, but about the broader idea that treasure still exists in the modern world, hiding in plain sight, and as we reflect on this incredible story, we are reminded that history, art, error, chance, and human desire all come together to create value where none was expected, making the 1987 1-cent coin a legendary piece not just of metal, but of cultural imagination. And as we bring this extended exploration to a close, remember that every coin has a story, and sometimes those stories can lead to unimaginable wealth, so keep your eyes open, keep searching, keep learning about the errors and possibilities that make coins valuable, because who knows, the next time you look at a simple penny, it might just be worth millions. And with that, I want to thank you for joining in on this incredible journey into the world of rare coins. Next, today's deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins, where tiny details, minting errors, and overlooked mistakes can transform something as ordinary as a penny into a treasure worth millions. And in this episode we will be unraveling the story behind the 2018 1-cent coin, a coin that most people would casually overlook in their pocket change, but which under the right circumstances can command a staggering value of up to $3 million because of its remarkable and highly sought after errors and mistakes. So settle in as we take you on a journey that explains why such a modern penny can be so valuable, how errors occur, what types of mistakes collectors look for, and why the 2018 penny has become such a remarkable symbol of hidden wealth in the numismatic community. Because while the average person thinks of a penny as just 1 cent and hardly worth bending over to pick up, collectors and specialists know that a small slip during the minting process can give birth to something truly extraordinary and worthy of an incredible price tag. And in the case of the 2018 penny struck at the Denver Mint, errors ranging from double dies to off-center strikes, from misaligned dies to dramatic cuts, from die cracks to planchet flaws, and even the elusive transitional or experimental mistakes have combined to give us coins that are breathtakingly rare and astronomically valuable. So let's begin by understanding how the minting process works, because without knowing how coins are made, it's hard to appreciate why mistakes matter so much. Coins are struck by dies, which are essentially hardened steel tools engraved with the design. The obverse and reverse dies come together under enormous pressure to imprint the design on a blank piece of metal called a planchet, and in theory every coin should be uniform, precise, and flawless, but in reality no machine is perfect and no system immune from mishaps, which is where errors creep in. So in 2018 the Lincoln cent was still being struck primarily in its copper-plated zinc composition that has been used since 1982, weighing about 2.5 grams with a thin copper layer over a zinc core, and while billions were produced, the Denver Mint, known by its D Mint mark, issued many coins that were absolutely ordinary. Yet within that mountain of production a few slipped through with jaw-dropping blunders that today make them the holy grail for collectors willing to pay $3 million or more, and to understand this we must explore the types of errors collectors have identified and why each contributes to value, starting with double die errors, which are among the most famous and collectible. A double die happens when during the hubbing process the die receives a misaligned second impression, and when that die is used to strike coins the result is lettering, numbers, or details that appear doubled. On the 2018 D penny, such a double die might appear on the date itself, making the 2018 look as though it has a shadow image beneath it, or on the word liberty, or on the motto "I in God we trust," and when this doubling is bold and clear it is instantly recognizable and dramatically boosts value because only a handful exist. And then there are off-center strikes, which occur when the planchet fails to seat properly between the dies and the design is struck partially off the blank, resulting in a coin that may show Lincoln's portrait pushed to one side with blank metal on the other, sometimes with as much as 50% of the design missing. And if such an error occurred on a 2018 D cent with the full date and mint mark still visible, collectors would go wild for it, pushing its price into the millions because it combines rarity, eye appeal, and dramatic misstriking. Then we come to die cracks and die breaks, known among collectors as cuds, where the die itself develops a crack or piece breaks off, leaving raised lines or blobs of metal on the finished coin. On the 2018 D penny, examples have been reported where Lincoln's face shows strange raised scars, or where the rim has a massive cut obliterating part of the lettering, and such features are treasured because they represent a unique fingerprint of a failing die captured forever in metal. Next, we can't ignore planchet errors such as clipped planchets, where a crescent-shaped chunk is missing because the blanking press overlapped when cutting out discs of metal, or wrong planchet errors where a penny design was mistakenly struck on a dime or nickel planchet. And although rare in modern mints, these mistakes do still surface, and when they happen on a 2018 D penny the combination of modernity and rarity makes it priceless. Now imagine finding a 2018 D penny struck on a steel blank, a leftover from wartime experiments, or on a foreign coin blank by accident. That single coin could easily be valued at $3 million or more because of its unparalleled uniqueness. And that brings us to transitional errors, which are coins struck using a composition or design from a different year. Though officially the 2018 penny should be copper-plated zinc, a handful could theoretically have been struck on leftover copper blanks, echoing the famous 1943 copper penny or the 1982 transition errors, and such an anomaly would absolutely command multi-million-dollar prices, making the 2018 D penny a headline-worthy rarity. And let's not forget misaligned die strikes where the obverse and reverse are out of sync, producing coins where the designs don't line up correctly, or where the reverse is rotated significantly from the obverse, sometimes by 90 or even 180 degrees. These are known as rotated die errors, and collectors adore them for their curiosity and oddity, again driving up value dramatically. When you combine these categories of mistakes with the sheer fascination that surrounds modern mint blunders, you begin to see why the 2018 D penny has captured so much attention. But what really fuels its $3 million reputation is the combination of scarcity, demand, and storytelling, because every rare coin carries with it a story, a mystery of how it slipped through quality control, how it survived circulation without being destroyed, and how it came to be discovered by a sharp-eyed collector. And in the world of numismatics, rarity and narrative add up to immense value. And so when we talk about a 2018 D penny valued at $3 million, we're really talking about a once-in-a-lifetime discovery that combines one or more of these error types in a spectacular fashion, perhaps a bold double die with an off-center strike, or a dramatic cut combined with a rotated reverse, or an impossible planchet mix-up that shouldn't exist. Each of these possibilities transforms the humble cent into a piece of history and art rolled into one. And collectors are willing to pay such prices not only for ownership but also for the bragging rights of possessing a coin that virtually no one else has, because in numismatics, exclusivity is king, and what could be more exclusive than a modern cent worth millions? So while billions of 2018 D pennies circulate with no special value beyond 1 cent, hidden among them are possibly just a handful of extraordinary specimens that change lives, and the thrill of the hunt is what keeps collectors engaged. People search through rolls of pennies from banks, bags from the mint, and pocket change hoping to stumble across that 1 in a billion error, and when news spreads that a 2018 D penny sold for $3 million, it inspires a new wave of treasure hunters to look more closely at the coins in their own wallets. This cycle of discovery, publicity, and collecting energy only serves to push values higher and ensures that the legend of the 2018 D penny continues to grow, because beyond the metal and the mistake lies the human fascination with rarity, with stories of lucky finds, and with the idea that something small and ordinary can hold unimaginable worth. So if you're wondering why such a coin could be so valuable, it comes down to a mix of minting imperfections, collector passion, historical precedent, and market psychology, and when all of these align, a coin that cost the government just 1 cent to make becomes a $3 million marvel, a modern-day treasure proving that even in our age of mass production, perfection is elusive and mistakes can be priceless. And as we wrap up this journey into the remarkable story of the 2018 D penny worth $3 million, we encourage you to always keep an eye on your change, study the details, look for doubling, off-centers, cuds, cracks, and anything unusual, because who knows, you might just be holding the next record-breaking coin in the palm of your hand. And if you enjoyed this exploration of hidden wealth and fascinating errors, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel for more incredible coin stories, and share this with friends who might never look at a penny the same way again. Last, we dive into the fascinating world of rare coins and numismatics, where everyday pocket change can sometimes hide treasures worth a fortune. And in this episode we are going to explore one of the most intriguing examples of how a simple penny, a 1989 1-cent coin, can be connected to stories of errors, mistakes, minting anomalies, and collector demand that have pushed its rumored value to as high as $7 million, a figure that might sound unbelievable when you think about the fact that a penny's face value is just a single cent, but once you learn about the possibilities of errors and how they affect the market, you will understand why collectors are willing to pay huge sums for what looks like ordinary copper-plated zinc. So let's begin by setting the scene of 1989, when the United States Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents, each one featuring the familiar bust of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner and first issued back in 1909, and on the reverse the Lincoln Memorial, which had been the chosen design since 1959, and by 1989 the Lincoln cent had gone through changes in its metallic composition, switching in 1982 from mostly copper to a zinc core with copper plating, a change that introduced new challenges and new opportunities for minting mistakes, because the softer zinc core with thin copper coating was more prone to plating issues, cracks, blistering, and striking problems, making coins of this era especially interesting to collectors hunting for rare varieties. So when we discuss the 1989 penny rumored to be worth $7 million, we are essentially entering the world of numismatic errors and unique anomalies, the kinds of things that transform a 1-cent coin into a priceless artifact. Now, what kinds of errors could make a coin from 1989 worth millions? First and foremost, double die errors, where the design elements such as the date, motto, or lettering appear doubled due to a misalignment in the die creation process, are highly coveted, and a strong double die obverse could cause extreme demand among collectors. Imagine seeing the "In God We Trust" motto or the date 1989 clearly doubled under magnification. Such dramatic errors are not only rare but visually stunning, which drives value sky high. Then there are off-center strikes, another error where the blank planchet is not properly aligned when struck, leading to a coin where part of the design is missing or dramatically shifted, and when the date remains visible along with a major off-center strike. Such pieces can fetch incredible sums, because collectors prize coins that are unique, eye-catching, and undeniably rare. Another possibility lies in transitional errors, and while the major transition occurred in 1982 from copper to zinc, there's always a chance of leftover planchets being struck in later years. And if even one 1989 penny was accidentally struck on a copper planchet instead of the intended zinc composition, it would be astronomically valuable, because transitional errors like that are among the holy grails of coin collecting, similar to the famous 1943 copper cent or the 1974 aluminum cent. both of which have legendary reputations. So a 1989 struck on a wrong planchet, be it copper, dime stock, or even a foreign planchet, could explain the multi-million-dollar valuation. Furthermore, we must consider mint mark varieties, especially from the Denver and Philadelphia mints, where slight differences in the mint mark punches could create collectible varieties, such as repunched mint marks or misplaced mint marks, which, though subtle, become prized discoveries that specialists chase after. And we can't ignore striking errors like broad strikes, where the coin expands beyond its normal diameter due to a missing collar during striking, or clipped planchets, where part of the blank is missing, creating a crescent-shaped cut on the coin, both of which add to the allure and rarity. Now let's pause to think about how collectors assign such astronomical values. Because rarity alone is not always enough, it must be combined with demand, historical significance, and condition. And if the 1989 penny in question was preserved in pristine, uncirculated, mint state condition, graded at the top of the scale by a professional service such as PCGS or NGC, then its value multiplies even further. Since high-grade error coins are exponentially scarcer, and for a coin to reach a $7 million rumor, it would likely have to be a unique specimen, the only known of its kind, with an error so dramatic and undeniable that it captures the attention of the entire numismatic community, fueling bidding wars and headlines that push the price into the stratosphere. But what really makes coins like this so valuable is the story they tell, the mystery of how a mistake slipped through the rigid quality control of the US Mint, how it ended up in circulation or in a collector's hand, and how it survived the decades without being damaged or lost. So when we think about the 1989 penny worth millions, we are thinking not just of a small round disc of metal, but of a story, a tangible connection to history, manufacturing, chance, and human curiosity. Now another angle to consider is the possibility of misstrikes involving mule errors, where the obverse and reverse dies from different denominations or different years are accidentally paired, creating a coin that should not exist. And while extremely rare, such errors have been documented in other years and denominations, and if one occurred in 1989 with a Lincoln cent, pairing it with a dime reverse or another unexpected die, its rarity would be off the charts. Another type of error that could create immense value is die caps, where a coin sticks to the die during striking and causes a distorted, bottle cap-like effect on subsequent coins, leading to one-of-a-kind shapes that collectors pay heavily for. Then we also have possibilities of wrong metal strikes, where instead of being struck on the intended zinc-copper planchet, a penny could have been accidentally struck on a planchet meant for a foreign coin, since the US Mint has produced coinage for other nations throughout history, and those mix-ups occasionally occurred, creating major rarities. So a 1989 penny struck on a foreign planchet with different weight and composition could indeed justify a huge valuation, and as we dig deeper, we realize that error coins are essentially fingerprints of the minting process. Every mistake is a frozen moment of imperfection in a system designed for uniformity, and it is precisely that imperfection which collectors crave, because it makes the coin unique and irreplaceable. So while most 1989 pennies are worth only a cent, or maybe a few dollars in brilliant uncirculated condition, the existence of a dramatic error transforms it into a trophy coin, an ultimate prize that wealthy collectors are willing to spend millions on. Think about auction houses like Heritage Auctions or Stack's Bowers, where legendary coins like the 1933 Double Eagle or the 1794 Flowing Hair Dollar have reached astronomical sums. And while the 1989 penny might seem humble in comparison, its uniqueness as a modern era can spark just as much frenzy, especially among collectors who want the rarest of the rare, the coin that no one else can own. So we can imagine scenarios where bidding wars break out, prices climb, and headlines proclaim the discovery of a penny worth $7 million, stunning the public and igniting renewed interest in coin collecting. And that is the magic of numismatics, where knowledge, patience, and luck can turn spare change into a life-changing fortune. But beyond the money, there is also the passion, the joy of discovery, the thrill of examining coins under magnification, hunting for doubled dies, repunched mint marks, off-center strikes, and all the fascinating anomalies that keep collectors engaged for life. And that is why we encourage everyone watching to check their change, search those rolls of pennies, and never dismiss a coin just because it looks ordinary, because as the story of the 1989 penny shows, even the smallest coin can hold a giant value. And as we wrap up, remember that this hobby is not just about wealth, it's about history, learning, and the community of collectors who share their discoveries. So if you found this journey into the world of the rare 1989 1-cent coin fascinating, and you want to keep exploring stories of hidden treasures, unbelievable mistakes, and coins worth more than houses, cars, or even fortunes, then make sure to stick with us, because the world of numismatics is endless and always surprising, and we look forward to sharing more incredible discoveries with you. So thank you for being here today, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss another story of how pocket change can turn into life-changing money.